How Milton Obote escaped to Kenya after the 1985 coup. A detailed account prelude to the coup. Ethnic tensions and civil war. Milton Obote's second presidency, 1982-1985, was a period marked by turmoil, ethnic division, and armed rebellion. After a controversial election in 1980, which many claimed was rigged in favor of Obote's Uganda People's Congress UPS, his former ally-turned-opponent, Yoweri Museveni, launched an insurgency through his National Resistance Army (NRA). This ignited the Ugandan Bush War 1981-1986, pitting Museveni's guerrilla forces against Obote's Uganda National Liberation Army (UNLA). As the war escalated, internal fractures within the UNLA became dangerously pronounced. Obote, an ethnic Langi, was accused of favoring his own ethnic group, sidelining the Akalai officers who made up the bulk of the army's leadership. The rift reached a boiling point in 1983 when military defeats and interethnic mistrust began to disintegrate the army's cohesion. Senior Akalai officers, especially General Tito Okello and Brigadier Basilio Olara Okello, grew increasingly resentful, especially after being branded as traitors when they proposed peace talks with Museveni. By July 1985, this internal feud exploded into open confrontation, plunging Kampala into deadly factional fighting. The Akalai officers decided to seize power and initiated a coup, the fall of Kampala, coup on July 27, 1985. On the morning of Saturday, July 27, 1985, acolyte groups loyal to Tito Okello descended from Gulu along the Bombo Road and launched an attack on Kampala. The fighting was fierce but quick. By midday, Kampala had fallen. UNLA units loyal to Obote were overwhelmed or defected. Obote's second regime, like his first, in 1971, collapsed in the face of a military revolt, this time led by men who once served under him. According to USAID Mission Director Irvin Coker, who was in Kampala during the coup, bombs and gunfire had become a nightly norm in the weeks leading up to the takeover. He described a harrowing scene of Akalai and Langi soldiers attacking each other, officers' homes being bombed, and truckloads of dead UNLA soldiers being driven through. The city in broad daylight, Kampala, had become a battlefield. The last hours, hiding and planning the escape. When the coup began in earnest on the night of July 26, Obote was still in Kampala. That night, he met with his close advisor, Chris Rakasisi, and his personal physician, Dr. Henry Obote, at Nile Mansions, where they coordinated the immediate response. At around 2:00 a.m., Obote and his aides decided to flee Nile Mansions and relocate to Dr. Obote's house in Kello, a quieter residential area that would not be an obvious target. The president was reluctant to flee. As recounted by Dr. Obote, Obote initially declared, "If these people want the chair, it is there. I don't want blood spilled because of me. I am prepared to die here." But Rakasisi and Obote insisted, "Those people don't reason. They are not like you." Faced with collapsing security, no military support, and the prospect of capture, Obote reluctantly agreed to escape. Choosing the escape route, Kampala was nearly encircled. The Gulu Road was under rebel control, and the western route was blocked by NRA forces. The only viable corridor was east, via Jinja Road, though intelligence reports warned that Basilio Olara's men had orders to fire on any vehicle fleeing the city along that route. Despite the risk, the escape party decided to try their luck. The convoy consisted of a few cars, with Dr. Obote's vehicle in the lead. Obote rode in his official vehicle, disguised and without any presidential insignia. The mission was clear: sneak out undetected. Outwitting roadblocks and reaching Jinja at Mukono, they encountered a heavily armed roadblock. Thinking fast, Dr. Obote lied to the soldiers, claiming that they had been sent by Obote to pick up Miria Obote, his wife, from the Malaba border after attending a women's conference in Nairobi. The guards believed the story, assuming Obote was still in Kampala, and allowed the convoy to pass. At Jinja's Owen Falls Dam Bridge, they were stopped again. The same fabricated story worked. However, at Bugembe, just outside Jinja, Dr. Obote noticed the convoy behind him had disappeared. Fearing the worst, he pulled over. To his relief, the convoy eventually reappeared. Obote asked how Obote had gotten them past the checkpoints. "It's difficult to explain," he responded. They now had to reach the Busia border, and Obote himself suggested a less patrolled shortcut near Magamaga barracks. Luckily, one of the escorts, Saga, knew the route. Crossing into Kenya at dawn, the convoy reached the Busia border post at around 5:00 a.m. Some Ugandan border guards hesitated to open the gates. However, Others, still loyal to the ousted president, let them through. The entourage parked in no man's land between Uganda and Kenya as Dr. Obote walked across to negotiate entry. I told the Kenyan authorities that my president was on his way to see their president, he recalled. One officer saluted and returned with him. Upon recognizing Obote, the officer saluted again and opened the gates. The convoy left behind all their weapons at the border and drove into Kenya unarmed, exhausted, and dangerously low on fuel. Into exile, the group stopped near Nakuru, where they refueled using $50 that Dr. Obote had brought from America. From there, they contacted State House in Nairobi, which arranged for temporary accommodation. Obote stayed the night near Nakuru and continued to Nairobi the next day. From Kenya, Obote eventually flew to Zambia, where he was granted asylum by President Kenneth Kaunda. He remained in Zambia for the rest of his life, never returning to power again. Aftermath and legacy. Tito Okello, the man who had overthrown Obote, held power for just 6 months. In January 1986, Yoweri Museveni's NRA captured Kampala, ushering in a new era of Ugandan politics that persists to this day. Obote's daring escape marked the final chapter in a turbulent political life. In exile, he remained vocal about Ugandan affairs but never regained his former influence. In August 2005, he announced his retirement as leader of the UPS. He died 2 months later, on October 10, 2005, of kidney failure in Johannesburg, South Africa. Though polarizing in memory, his 1985 escape through roadblocks lies. And no man's land remains one of the most dramatic political getaways in African history, a testimony to both his fall and the loyalty of those who risked everything to smuggle him to safety.